All right, good morning. Can you hear me okay? Is this mic on?
Yep.
Yep. Is the mic on? Yes, okay, thank you. Well, pleasure to follow all these bright people. I'm going to speak specifically about ayahuasca and the healing of addiction. I just look at Ken's slides about states must prohibit DMT. The obvious ridiculousness of the situation as it stands. If you look at around the world every year, there's 5.5 million people that die of tobacco-related diseases. And as many people a year annually succumb to death due legally and profitably and respectably marketed products as died in the entire Second World War in the anti-Jewish genocide run by the Nazis. And then it states that states must prohibit DMT. Think about it. My work in the last 11 years has been with downtown East Side clients heavily addicted to a whole range of substances, chiefly narcotics and stimulants. And it was about 1.5 years ago that I first found out about ayahuasca. People have been asking for years what I knew about the treatment of addiction, ibogaine, which I know Rick will be talking about later, or ayahuasca, and I knew nothing whatsoever. But then last July I had the opportunity to participate in some ceremonies here up in Vancouver with an itinerant Peruvian shaman who came with a whole troupe of musicians and so on, and it was an extraordinary experience. And I knew right away that this is a great treatment for addiction. Now there's 3 ways of knowing, of course, and Rick talked about the high regard in which science is held in North America. But of course, it's a very narrow kind of science, a very limited kind of perspective. And that intellectual knowledge that we can gain through science is one way of learning, but it's far from the only way of learning. In fact, if human beings rely on that way of learning only, we'd all be dead. Because there's 2 other ways of knowing that are equally powerful, and in my mind, as a physician, and contrary to the practice of my profession, they're equally and even perhaps more important. And apart from the intellectual way of knowing, there's also the experiential way of knowing. You experience something and you just get it. And then intuitive. And in terms of ayahuasca, once I had the experience with it personally, and see what I could do, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. There's no way I'm going to wait for 35 years until the intellectual knowledge is aware that it's available, and I'll be dead by then. I'll be 100 years old in 35. Can't wait that long. So I'm just going ahead with the work that's available to me now, with that plan. Now, if you think about addiction, it's basically a compound of 2 losses. One is an emotional loss of trust in the world, an emotional loss of knowledge of yourself, an emotional loss of sense of belonging, and the emotional loss of respect for one's own truth. Because if you look at who the hardcore addicts are in the downtown East Side, which is not even controversial, neither according to my own experience or according to large-scale research, these are people who have been severely abused. It's that simple. And as I point out in my book on addiction, the early abuse not only cripples people emotionally and psychologically, it also shapes the brain in certain ways, so that the big brain circuits, and I'll say more about that in my afternoon workshop, the very brain circuits that are involved in addiction, the opiate, endorphin circuitry, the dopaminergic, incentive motivation circuits, the impulse, and the stress regulation circuits, all are distorted in their development by the abuse. And when I say distorted, I mean biochemically and structurally, so that you can actually do brain scans on people and see the damage. We're getting there with our medical imaging so that we can actually see the impact of early abuse. And a recent study from University of Montreal, McGill University, actually showed that early abuse specifically damages the DNA functioning of the brain. So in fact, it's not far from genetics controlling things. the genes themselves are affected by, and they're functioning by early experience. So there's that deep emotional loss, there's also the physiological loss, the circuits being distorted in that involvement. So that's the one kind of loss. The second loss in addiction, that underlies addiction, is a spiritual one. I mean, if the spiritual teachings of all the traditions, Buddha to Jesus to Muhammad to the shamanic teachings of tribal cultures around the world, have anything to say whatsoever, what they're actually saying is that the self itself is an illusion, that in fact we're all just manifestations of life, not just, we're all manifestations of life, and that being that we're manifestations of the same life process, the separation itself is an illusion, and that we belong to the whole greatness of it all, and it belongs to us, in fact it is us, and that the separation between individuals is also an illusion and a delusion. And all the spiritual paths are designed in one way or another to help people drop that illusion so they can see the truth of it all, which is the connection and the belonging and the oneness. Now, there's no possibility, if you truly get that, you're all one and there's no separation, then there's no addiction. Because the addiction comes out of a terrible sense of separation and isolation, and a terrible sense that you are over here and the world is over there and it's against you. That's the spiritual state of the addict. It doesn't matter what his formal beliefs are, or what her formal beliefs are. She may believe in God, she may believe in whatever, but the formal beliefs are not where reality exists for us. It's more what we believe at our core. And the very belief of the addict is that there's no meaning, there's no connection, there's only isolation and pain. So then you come to the ayahuasca experience. What does it show you? It shows you, first of all, and so the addict spends all his life, all her life, trying to escape the pain. But trying to escape the pain without actually resolving the pain. The problem with the addict, the problem for the addict, I should say, is that they know they have pain. They'll tell you that I'm doing this to get away from reality. But they're so afraid of the pain that they don't actually ever look at it in a way to work it through. Because if you work it through, then you realize there's not much to be afraid of anymore. So all that happened a long time ago. It doesn't affect reality in the present necessarily. So addiction is a desperate escape from pain. What the plant does is it shows you exactly what you're running away from. You can't run away from the truth of it when you've done the plant. I'm not saying that every experience is like that, but some people will have some very frightening experiences with the plant, in the sense of they'll have manifestations, physical manifestations of some pretty scary things. Now, I've never quite had that, but I think possibly because I've worked things through over years. I've had some difficult experiences with the plant, but nothing really scary or overwhelmingly frightening. I also haven't had those beautiful pictures that Ken showed us either. But that's okay, because you have the experiences that you had. So it shows you all the stuff that you've been running away from. And that's good. And all the stuff you've been running away from is stuff that was inculcated in you before you had any choice in the matter. When you're very small, helpless, vulnerable, and exposed. So it shows you that in a way that allows you now to embrace the inside of yourself and to work with it positively. Then the other thing that it shows you is that there's no way to run away from anything, because there is in fact that connection. There is in fact that truth inside. There is in fact that love inside. That you don't need to run around looking for love. It's actually in there. It's an inevitable and natural and unconditioned part of who you actually are as a human being. When you actually experience that, there's no more fear. There's no more loss. Because the loss of love is relative. The presence of love is absolute when you have that experience. And this may sound like New Age mumbo jumbo, and I would certainly would not have found myself talking like this even 5 years ago. But that's just what the experience shows you. It shows it to you. So therefore, you have what you're running away from, giving you a chance to process it, and the clear experience of not having to run anywhere, because you're okay exactly where you are. So it's a wonderful treatment of addiction. I don't need 15 double-blind placebo-controlled studies. Tell me that. So I began to work with it, and now it's